Now, the eyes of the world are on Washington, D.C. right now on the second day of NATO's 75th anniversary landmark summit. Russia's war on Ukraine is at the top of the agenda, with the alliance aiming to showcase its ironclad commitment to Kyiv. Earlier, the NATO chief said he expects allies to agree to what he's calling a substantial package for Ukraine. And U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made this announcement just a short time ago.
As we speak, the transfer of F-16 jets is underway, coming from Denmark, coming from the Netherlands, and those jets will be flying in the skies of Ukraine this summer to make sure that Ukraine can continue to effectively defend itself against the Russian aggression.
Well, Norway has announced that it will send 6 American-made F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine this year to help Kyiv defend itself against Russia. Now, as we reported, Denmark and the Netherlands are also sending F-16s to Ukraine. Norway is especially sensitive to the conflict in Ukraine, as it is one of a handful of NATO members sharing a border with Russia. Joining us now is Norway's Foreign Minister, Espen Barth Eide. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us, Foreign Minister. I want to start off with the F-16s that you'll be sending, and I want you to give me a sense of the timeline and the delivery of these jets to Ukraine.
Thank you very much. First, I have to say I'm the Foreign Minister, not the Prime Minister, but thank you anyway. And so we announced today the donation of 6 F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine, and that is part of broader efforts where Belgium, Denmark and the Netherlands are also donating F-16s. That means donating the aircraft, but also teaching pilots and operators and maintenance personnel, and also providing equipment so that this can be actively used. And we hope that this will enhance Ukraine's capacity to to have better control of their own airspace, to defend themselves in the air, but also to give some long-range capacities to Ukraine, which are useful in hitting behind enemy lines on the battlefield.
So, Minister, give me a sense of what the delivery time is. I'm hearing that it could take a few years, over the next few years, and if that's the case, is there a sense that this could be a prolonged war?
Well, I mean, you always need to prepare for this being a prolonged war. Of course, we would hope to see this having, a decisive outcome in Ukraine's favor soon. But I think it's wise when you're in war, or when you're supporting friends who are in war, that you plan for the long run and you hope for an earlier outcome. And of course, even after the war, when Ukraine has prevailed and when we collectively have showed President Putin that this type of behavior cannot be accepted in Europe, Ukraine still needs to defend itself. So there's no shortage in need to build the Ukraine defensive capacities. And by assisting them in moving from sort of a Soviet-era MiGs and Sukhois and into very modern equipment also in the air, we supplement, the brave and very committed people in Ukraine with equipment that will we believe, be very helpful. This has been aircraft that has been extremely useful in protecting Norway and Belgium and Netherlands and Denmark from all these years, and now we have upgraded them and we give them to Ukraine.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about what's happening in the United States and the scrutiny that President Biden is under and the confidence in him. Does Norway have confidence in President Biden and being at this NATO summit, and of course, hearing what he has to say, engaging with the United States? What's been the sense on the ground?
So we are attending an international meeting of 32 countries and many partners on top of that at a very critical moment. And my emphasis is on working well with America, whoever runs America. And democracies are complex constructions, but they're the best way of governance in our view. And we will respect whatever happens, whether it's happening in the elections or before. We want to work with any American leader. And we want to convey one key message, which is that America has been an excellent partner over these 75 years. We are also doing our best. We have heard the message that came from Obama, from President Trump, from President Biden, that Europe needs to do more, and that message was heard, and the vast majority of European partners are now way above 2%, including my own country, Norway. We are actually heading towards 3% for our case, 3%, and that is because it's the right thing to do, but it's also because we think this was an important ask from the biggest member of the alliance. So I don't want to comment on the specifics of American internal discussions, but I expect to be working well with whoever is the future president of the US.
Absolutely. You know, as a final question, what does Norway hope to get out of this NATO summit? What are your expectations?
I think it is, you know, NATO is in many ways coming back to its original core purpose. You know, in the meantime, we've been out there meandering into terrorist, you know, protection against terrorism, asymmetric threats. These are all important and worthwhile issues. But now we are again seeing that we have territorial war, state against state, interstate war in Europe. And potentially also in other parts of the world. I mean, there are tensions growing also in Asia, and that is very much what NATO was set up to do in this very city of Washington 75 years ago, and we want to make sure that it's prosperous, united, and looking into the future, because we have all the classical threats, but on top of that we have outer space, we have cyber, we have critical infrastructure, we are much more connected countries now, and these are issues that we want to deal with at this summit.
All right, Norwegian Foreign Minister Espen Barth Eide, thank you so much for joining us. Good to have you on the show.